Hello, my name is Joshua Bell McNee, and today I'll be delving into the short documentary Wasteland, made by David Fidel. To begin with, I will give a quick summary of the film before investigating Fidel's use of the observational mode, the particular content that is explored within this mode, and finally how these elements influence Fidel's stylistic choices. Wasteland explores the issue of electronic waste which arrives every day in Ghana from developed countries all around the world. Being the world's second largest graveyard for electronic waste, Ghana receives an approximated 200,000 tons of e-waste every year. The film itself was undoubtedly made and constructed in an observational documentary mode. On the surface, this means that the filmmaker has at least appeared to use the camera as a method of capturing the life of others unobtrusively and with spontaneity. This trait is obvious in the case of Wasteland, as the camera truly does act as a fly on the wall, witnessing events that would transpire similarly on any other day in the life of these social actors. The substantial content explored in the film is the cycle of how this waste arrives, how people break it down in order to make a living for themselves, and where this salvaged and recycled waste is then sent. To expand on this content, it is important to note that Ghana's current predicament is a vicious cycle. To begin with, many of the poorer and uneducated people of Ghana travel to its capital, Accra, because the local farming industry is struggling and there are few other opportunities. There, they salvage the metals from the e-waste and burn or dump the leftover plastic and other materials. This leaves toxic chemicals in the air and creates a constant state of dark polluted cloud cover. The salvaged items are then sent back to the developed world, used until useless, and finally exported again illegally as second-hand goods. Looking now back at the mode and delivery, the facts, statistics, and information that is needed for the audience to be able to contextualize what they are observing is delivered through superimposed text at the beginning and end of the film. This alone lends itself to the observational style, as Fidel here steers away from, for instance, interviewing the subjects. Instead, he gives the viewers written information and then simply observes the workers in their day-to-day life. Bill Nichols discusses some of the traits of the observational mode as being no voiceover commentary, no supplementary music or sound effects, no intertitles, no historical reenactments, no behavior repeat for the camera, and not even any interviews. These are all true in the case of Wasteland. True to the observational mode, the content is delivered through the social actors ignoring the camera as they are dealing with issues of their own. In a way, this draws attention away from the presence of the filmmaker, allowing the viewer to come to their own conclusions based on what they see and hear. Drawing on a couple of examples from Wasteland, at one moment we see a man burning the interior foam of a fridge. He struggles to reposition the item so it will speed up the process. In another instance, we witness the derelict image of a man resting in the shade of a fridge shelf surrounded by junk. If these two very real moments were, for example, portrayed through the participatory mode, interviewing the social actors and occasionally cutting to a clip showing their daily routine, the intense nature of the lifestyle would not have been as effectively portrayed. Fidel's impartial observatory delivery reveals an unbiased look into the world of this issue, and in turn fulfills Fidel's aims of making us think more deeply about what happens to old electronics. Of the differing types of documentary, the observational has been a source of particular ethnical difficulties. As David said himself, many people didn't want me to film them, as they were ashamed of the work that they did and conditions that they lived in. Because David went in with a specific goal, approached the project with no crew and few comforts, and acquired permission from all who he filmed, he was somewhat able to circumvent the ethical considerations that involved the act of a first-world person observing the less fortunate go about their affairs. Stylistically, David approaches this content in a manner which showed the graphic nature of the circumstances in their rawest form. Firstly, he only uses handheld shots that don't move much except to keep a social actor in frame. The shots taken are also very lengthy, allowing the viewer time to absorb the terrifying nature of having to live the way many of these Ghanaians do. On top of this, similar images are often revisited on multiple occasions. For example, Fidel shows the burning of plastics and chemicals many times. This repetition confronts the audience and hits home the graphic nature of having to live in this fashion. Fidel also steers away from using music, sound, and lighting to manipulate the audience's viewing. On a final note, Fidel shot and edited the film to include shots which most effectively represented the hardship that is being experienced by these workers. In one instance, we see a man who is dismantling e-waste. Instead of capturing a mid-shot or wide-angle shot, Fidel chooses to use a close-up, which shows the sweat dripping from his face. Many of the shots throughout are presented in a similar fashion, highlighting the extreme hardship of the people and the overwhelming dilapidated landscape. In summary, the choice of the observational mode, mixed with the content and the stylistic decisions, most effectively aided Fidel's intention to make people from the developed world consider how the consumption of electronics can affect the environment and the lives of people in less developed countries. Thank you very much.